Last year, Cloud Imperium Games promised that they would deliver a staggering amount of new features and content for Star Citizen over a period of 12 months. This announcement was made more exciting by the fact that they were actually showing off most of these features in-engine during the presentation, so it really felt like this might actually come to fruition. However, with Chris Roberts having a pretty legendary reputation at this point for missing major deadlines, fans were excited but also somewhat skeptical, and rightly so. Today, we're now less than 4 months away from Star Citizen's next major CitizenCon event that will kick off in Manchester, England. This event will take place on that 12-month deadline, and I want to see just how far CIG has come to delivering on that content and what's still remaining. Now, I actually had to go back and review my recap of last year's CitizenCon to make a list of everything promised, because it really is quite possibly the most ambitious goal the company has made, at least since their original plan of shipping Star Citizen in 2014. LOL. I also ended up using this website made by community member Greg that's tracking each individual feature on an even more minute scale. He's broken it down into 56 different features, of which 24 have been delivered so far, though that statement alone doesn't quite paint a picture of the progress made and what's currently being tested or partially implemented. I'll leave a link to his site in case you want to follow it. Alright, let's get into it, and I'm going to kind of follow along with the categories that Craig has set up on his website, because it's nicely laid out and easy to follow. So firstly, we've got the future of Star Engine, basically all the major engine updates that will improve performance and capabilities. So far, CIG has implemented Vulkan, which is the new render pipeline, and that has come along with the first stage of DLSS, FSR, and the new TSR upscaling to improve performance, although most of the game is still CPU locked, so most players haven't seen a huge performance update since then. There's been cloud improvements with new light shafts and better cloud rendering. There's been ground fog updates that follow the terrain, and there's now new water simulation and deformation when a spaceship flies over the water or a bomb impacts the water to deform it in a really cool, interesting way. The new Star Hair simulation has been added to the game, and his website says Star Cloth has been added to the game, but I've seen debates as to whether or not this has actually been fully implemented in engine yet, though it is one of the smaller features, so not too concerned over that detail. Now, when it comes to server meshing, one of the biggest and most important features coming for Star Citizen, this has not yet been implemented. This feature will allow for servers to be broken up into multiple servers and share the load so that allegedly thousands of players will be able to exist in one solar system and run missions and fight each other and just make the universe feel much more populated. Plus, it'll allow players to traverse between different solar systems in real time. The first stage of this system, server replication, has been added into the game, and server meshing currently is being tested. In fact, I've checked it out, many players have checked it out, so a lot of people have played in a server meshed environment. It's just not yet stable enough for the live servers. I do expect that we will see this rolled out to live before the next CitizenCon. When it comes to graphics, ray traced global illumination has not yet been added to the game, nor has the next stage of DLSS, DLSS 3, which would actually solve a lot of the CPU bottleneck issues for people who have higher end graphics cards. Maelstrom, the new physically based destruction system, has also not been implemented. The new fire simulation and attached gameplay to that fire system has not been added, nor have some of the new quantum travel effects that were shown off. Let's talk about some of the new navigation and exploration features. One of the biggest and most long-term promised feature, the updated star map with seamless transitions from the surface of planets to spaceships to the entire solar system, is in the game currently. It works and it is awesome. This has been a huge update for the game. It also comes with path routing, so you can place a pin somewhere on a map and then that routing will show up on the new heads-up display in your first-person perspective and help you navigate around cities. Not all of the features associated with this system have been implemented yet. Downloadable maps that'll reveal locations to you, or data running mechanics like being able to sell markers and stuff like that. And while we do have a nice new updated HUD, some of the features kind of associated with it, like FPS scanning, are also not yet in the game. The mobiGlass system has also been updated, and while the front end does look a little bit newer and fresher, it's mostly the back end features and how the mobiGlass is built that seems to be the major change. When it comes to personalizing your in-game character and just other NPCs around the verse, lots of progress has been made there. The new character creator and sculpting system is now in the game, giving players a huge amount of control over how their character looks. Not all of the new heads and hair types have been added, but a significant amount, with more hopefully on the way. They've also added the Headhunters gang to the game, which have a new visual look to them, but they haven't yet added a bunch of the other stuff like the Rough and Ready gang. They haven't added in player hygiene stuff where you can get dirtier over time. And as far as I can tell, they haven't really added in some of that new frontier clothing and cosmetics that were shown off. Now, when it comes to just doing things in the first-person perspective, lots of progress has been made here. Aside from the new heads-up display, we now have the EVA 2.0 experience, which is a much-needed update to the game and just makes players floating around in space look much more realistic and cool. We also have the new Inner Thought system, which allows you to just quickly tap F on objects to do the action that you're expecting it to do, but also holding the key down so that you can choose from more options. This is sort of the best of both worlds. It's not yet implemented to every item and interactable in the game, but progress is being made. There's a new looting screen for characters, allowing for faster looting in-game. It's still a bit buggy, but a noticeable improvement over the previous system. Kiosks and terminals now have more updated UI and features. Weapons now have new scope improvements, handling mechanics, and even sounds for the guns. There's been a big balance pass here, so that's a huge update and overall quality of life improvement. That said, there's still a wealth of features here that have not yet made it into the game. Player traversal animation updates like going prone, jumping onto ladders, sliding, that's not quite in yet. We don't have the first-person takedown system yet. There isn't a ping system for your radar, allowing you to ping and spot enemies. The even more robust player animation interaction system is not yet there, where you'll animate every button push in a cockpit and stuff like that. They advertised radiation gameplay and environmental hazard stuff. That's not there. And the weapon wear, gun jamming, that kind of stuff is also not yet in the game. Now, when it comes to operating your spaceships and the features associated with it, some significant things have been added, but there's a huge amount of stuff on this list that is still yet to see any patch. The biggest feature added here is Master Modes. This is still what I would call a work in progress. This allows players to switch between navigational mode and SCM mode. All ships can switch between it, and there's a whole slew of new balance changes that come with it, and meta for how to fly your ship and fight with your ship. Along with it comes the new zoom in targeting system and the ability to sort of paint subsystems for targeting at range. It's kind of cool. I haven't been able to use it too much in game. It seems mostly useful for small ships targeting big ships at range. Now, when it comes to the features not yet implemented for flight, well, control surfaces is one. That's the ability for aerodynamic spacecraft to fly in the air much like an aircraft would, only using the rear thrusters, using less fuel, and achieving some of those more airplane-like mechanics. The quantum boosting feature, which is going to be a huge update to general traversal, allowing you to move quickly through space at sub-quantum speeds in a quicker, more dynamic way. That's nowhere to be seen yet. That also includes the entering quantum jump gameplay, where you have to sort of pull the ship onto course, otherwise you won't be able to achieve quantum jump. The complete ship heads-up display rework is not in the game. This seems like a massive amount of work, and I have no idea if they're going to be able to get it done in time. The ship-to-helmet MFD casting is not yet in the game. And of course, the other animation and interaction stuff that I discussed earlier is also not in the game for, pressing everything and interacting with the cockpit. And we're missing the new configuration profiles used for different situations. When it comes to bigger spaceships, engineering gameplay has long been promised. This would be people tinkering with the systems inside of a ship, repairing them, rerouting power, replacing worn out components. This is not yet in the game, but it has been tested, and I think you can actually test it right now in the Arena Commander mode. It's cool, but it also seems like it's quite a ways off. Now, what about the new locations and gameplay? This is one of the more desirable updates for Star Citizen because tons of features are great, but if there's no gameplay to back them up, then it doesn't matter all that much at the end of the day. And that's kind of what 2024 has been so far. A lot of cool new features with not a lot of gameplay behind them. So what have we gotten so far? There seems to be a new reputation system that allows you access to certain areas, good, neutral, bad. I haven't actually experienced this one firsthand. And probably the biggest new locations now are the distribution centers. There are actual missions and gameplay that take place here, but they are quite simplistic. The bigger raid-like events and going deeper into these distribution centers, or even some of the simpler package delivery gameplay, a lot of that hasn't been fully implemented yet or is still quite buggy. There are a lot of new settlements located around the system now, which actually do look quite cool, but there's not really a lot of mission content attributed to them yet. And what is bound to be one of the biggest location updates to Star Citizen, the entire second new system of Pyro, is also not yet in the game. That one is locked behind the server meshing technology. Players have been able to test out Pyro and play it for brief periods of time just to see what it's like, and it is cool, though what we have played has been an incomplete version of Pyro and shown many ways to sort of break the underlying mechanics of the system since it is a lawless system. So I'm very curious to see what updates come with Pyro once it finally makes it into the live servers. Persistent hangars, which are attached to freight elevators, which are attached to all the new hauling gameplay, are not yet in the game, but they are being actively tested right now, so I do expect to see those features added to the game in the near future. I'm personally very excited about those features, especially the hauling gameplay, because, well, it's gameplay. New things to do, new missions, new opportunities. Now, one of the more exciting features shown off at the last CitizenCon, which many people, myself included, did not expect to see in a year's time, was base building. This comes with land claims, people being able to claim a section of a planet or a moon or what have you and start building a base on there that has systems that can interact with the solar system economy and have turrets, defenses, what have you. This just seemed way too ambitious to get into the game in a year's time, and I think CIG's kind of walked that feature back a little bit, and I don't think anybody's surprised by that. So, in summary, CIG still has a bit of time to get more features delivered to us. It does seem like they are lagging behind their deadlines a bit here, especially with some of the major big ticket items still undelivered, such as server meshing and Pyro. Those will likely take the most amount of time, and I don't think anybody's going to be surprised if those features slip past the deadline. Now, in terms of what's been delivered so far this year, I would say that a lot of quality of life features have been added to the game that will probably make Star Citizen a more enjoyable experience to get into as a new player. However, for veteran players, the quality of life updates are nice, but there isn't a lot of gameplay to back them up. That hauling update that's in the works right now is a pretty big deal for players who just want something new to do, new to try out in Star Citizen. And in fact, I'm kind of having that epiphany moment looking at all of the promised features. The vast majority of them have very little to do with new gameplay content. It's still all very important update and again, foundational tech, but in terms of the player experience, there hasn't been too much this year that's brought me back in for a long period of time to play. The distribution centers were the thing that I was kind of most excited to try out, and those missions just kind of underwhelmed, or I ran through them pretty quick, and then that was that. So Pyro is still slated for Q3 2024, and hopefully CIG can make that deadline. That will be a huge update for the game in terms of available content, potentially doubling the amount of missions and things that you can do in the game. So that'll be something that is very exciting for everybody interested in Star Citizen. I'm going to be following the game very eagerly, and I'm excited to check out what's going on at the next CitizenCon. What do you guys think of the progress they've made so far? Do you think they're going to hit most of the items on this list by the deadline, or are they going to blow right past it as they have done so many times before? Let me know in the comments. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave me a like, subscribe for more content, like it, ding that notification bell to beat the YouTube algorithm with me. And up next, check out this amazing space game that I wanted to try out because I wanted another spaceship game that I could play with 2 joysticks at once, and I was not disappointed by this one. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.